Let me repeat it. Our hemisphere has been invaded by China, and they are now the #1 trading partner in the region.
Chinese companies are forming joint ventures in other countries, and then it's using those countries to become the exporter into the U.S.
In Torreon, not far from the U.S. border, construction on a new factory, a Chinese investment, is nearly complete. When completed, this will be the manufacturing site of Milwaukee, a Chinese tool and appliance conglomerate.
Hicimos un viaje a China el año pasado. Sí encontré mucho interés en empresas chinas que han venido a Torreón, que han conocido lo que se está haciendo. Nos han incluso pedido que separemos algunas tierras para empresas chinas que saben ya las características y la conveniencia de hacerlo en una región como la nuestra.
In neighboring city Monterrey, there are more than 10 brands from China that have been set up and are manufacturing products from home appliances to auto parts. Mexico is having a manufacturing renaissance. Many of the 500 largest industrial corporations in the United States have shifted a part of their manufacturing operations from China to Mexico. It's a trend that started during the Trump presidency when tariffs were slapped on China exports to the U.S. Collectron, which helps foreign companies relocate to Mexico, explains why foreign investment has been pouring into the country.
Well, it started back in 2018 with a tariff jump between China and the United States, and it continued with the unfortunate situation that we have with the pandemic with COVID-19. And of course, it has escalated to the conflict between Russia and Ukraine.
All of this has led companies to pursue a policy of friendshoring, meaning locating in friendly countries, or nearshoring, which means to produce closer to where one's consumers are.
Well, companies don't make a decision to transfer their operation overnight. You know, most companies take anywhere between 6 months to a year, up to 18 months to make a decision to establish an operation in Mexico.
It helps that costs in Mexico are competitive and the workforce is skilled.
We are fortunate to be in an area with a lot of universities around and highly talented and skilled workforce.
They have transferred some of their operations they have had in Asia back to the Mexican operations.
And it's not just American companies moving to Mexico. Chinese companies are also coming here, mainly to be closer to their U.S. customers. Chinese enterprises have poured $8.29 billion into Mexico-based projects since 2018, the year the trade war with the U.S. started. Some of these companies include auto parts maker Ningbo Shisheng Group and Tuopo Group, home appliance maker Hisense, Bethel Automotive and furnishing company Kuka.
Chinese companies are setting up or forming joint ventures in other countries. Vietnam is one clear case, as well as Mexico. And then it's using those countries to become the exporter into the U.S.
Yeah, Mexico's exports to the U.S. are up by a lot since 2018 or 19. The increase in exports of many of these economies right now are driven actually by increased imports from China. So in effect, there seems to be triangular trade, which really doesn't look like a lot of de-risking, right? Like it's just the same trade happens more indirect and less transparent. And I don't think this is, sustainable. If an economy really wants to do risk, they will try to shut down this channel too. That's the one thing. The other thing is that what we already see is that it drives up prices quite a bit.
Mexicans believe Chinese investment will go up even more.
Yo creo que de aquí en adelante pues se va a activar más rápido esto, pienso yo. Porque tenemos ya como 10, 11 años trabajando directamente allá con China. Tenemos socios de la Cámara que tienen sus oficinas también allá en varias partes de China.
These big investments made by Chinese companies have not gone unnoticed in the United States.
Today, I am here to announce that great-powered competition is back in the Americas. The hammer and the sickle has returned in full force, and the Chinese Communist Party's first order of business is to own Latin America, our backyard. China has secured a presence in Latin America through what we could call a Trojan horse strategy. to become the #1 trading partner in our region. 20 years ago, they traded $12 billion. 20 years later, last year, they hit $450 billion. That is a 3,000% increase.
You can turn around the question and say, well, what is the United States doing in terms of its relations with countries in Latin America and Central America? And there, what you hear in Washington, emanating out of Washington, is a concern primarily about immigration and drugs. That tends to be what consumes the oxygen coming out of Washington, rather than the question of we really need to reinforce our economic relations with the region. It's mentioned, but it doesn't get as much airplay as other areas. So within those circumstances, it's hardly surprising that countries in Latin America or Central America are going to turn to a country that's willing to invest and that is willing to trade.
American manufacturing is back, folks.
因为地缘政治的紧张，国家干预又重新回潮了哈，大家会不可避免地发现自己的生产成本提高，通胀也有抬升。